after the Olympic victories, the President of the United States identified him as a great citizen of the United States, when in actuality he was not a citizen, because being born in Oklahoma Indian Territory, he did not enjoy citizenship in 1912.
He was a ward of the state, and American Indians did not receive citizenship for another 6 years. But the President of the United States didn't know this.
Although he couldn't vote, Thorpe eclipsed the president in the American imagination as newspapers, magazines, and two-penny novels mixed fact with fiction to create the unreal image of a noble savage. What was undeniably real, however, were the 25 touchdowns and 198 points he scored for Carlisle as he again earned All-American status.
He just kind of tore up the collegiate football season, and now everybody wanted Carlisle on their schedule. It's probably fair to say that he was the best-known athlete of the day.
He was first and foremost an athlete, and I think the Indian element added perhaps to the publicity and to the glamour and to the attention he got.
He brought to the sport his aggressiveness, his warrior attitude toward the game. It was really his style of play which captured people's imagination in a game which was incredibly violent.
1912 had been a year of unimaginable success for Thorpe, a springboard onto the international stage. With his future stretching before him like the bright path his mother envisioned at his birth, Thorpe could not make out the shadows lurking in the glare of his fame.
Itchy feet, smelly feet, sweaty feet? Get Gold Bond foot spray or Gold Bond foot powder. Gold Bond does more. Gold Bond is medicated to help stop itch, stop odor, and keep feet cool and dry. Get more foot relief. Get Gold Bond and get on with it.
Kraft cheese nips made with 100% real Kraft cheese.
Oh, I love Kraft cheese.
Oh, one per person, please.
Oh, okay.
Taste for yourself. Cheese lovers choose Kraft cheese nips.
That's more than one!
What Barry Bonds is doing at his age is just plain stupid. The best player in baseball shouldn't be nearly 40.
Rome is burning. Tuesdays at 7 Eastern. Jim Rome is back on ESPN.
There's no crying in baseball!
Get an inside look at A League of Their Own from the casting crew.
We had concussions, broken noses.
A League of Their Own. The movie and the behind-the-scenes look. 8 Eastern Sunday, only on ESPN Classic.
Was Pete Maravich a basketball prodigy who was born to entertain?
Pete was in his own world.
He had to put a little show on for the fans. Or was he a struggling soul searching for answers?
He lost his identity, and because of it, things start falling apart for him.
A legend lost too soon.
Most artists, people don't recognize their great talent until after they're gone.
Pistol Pete Maravich, SportsCentury, 8:30 Thursday on ESPN Classic.
Real. To honor our past, celebrate our present, and imagine our future. The city of Alhambra is celebrating 100 years. Join us as we remember the events that led to the founding of our great city, the city of Alhambra. Throughout the year, Alhambra will sponsor many great events and activities. For a detailed list of fun-filled activities, just visit our website. The city of Alhambra, a proud city, a proud centennial.
Most brewers purify their beer by heat pasteurization, according to a set of calculations called the thermal death curve. They keep turning up the heat until the microbes succumb, a method that also works for cooking a lobster. MGD is never heat pasteurized. It's cold filtered at a constant 32 degrees for pure refreshment. A better process makes a better beer.
In January of 1913, the roof to Thorpe's Brave New World began to tremble. The Worcester Telegram reported that he was paid when he played minor league baseball, which meant by Olympic rules, he was a professional when he competed in Stockholm.
It's just when the Worcester paper went with the story and made a big deal of it that the AAU had to respond. They responded with kind of shock and dismay, as if, my God, this was really something wrong, and we didn't know about this when this was pretty well understood.
The papers in that part of the country knew that he had actually played baseball.
And a lot of them didn't say anything when he made his tryouts for the Olympics and became a member of the Olympic team. They could have said something at that time, but nobody did.
I asked him, I said, did you guys know that you were playing pro sport? And he said, well, you got to remember how things were in 1909. We had a rough time speaking English, let alone what the law was.
But Coach Warner knew the language and the law, even if Thorpe didn't.
Pop Warner, recognizing that Jim Thorpe was this great athlete, called a friend of his and asked if he would watch Jim for the summer, keep him in training, let him play on his ball team. Jim Thorpe went to Rocky Mount, North Carolina in 1909, was paid $2 a game.
Pop Warner knew exactly what was going on. Carlisle boys had been coming into the Carolinas, perhaps elsewhere too, and receiving pay for their baseball for years.
When Dad come into it, they really didn't tell him that what he should do is use an assumed name. They took advantage, really, I think, of Dad in that they knew his fame and they wanted to use him as a drawing attraction.
I don't think it ever occurred to Thorpe to lie. I don't think he ever had any intention of going back to Carlisle. So when people said, who's pitching today for Rocky Mount, you know, the announcer simply said, Jim Thorpe.
He played 7 of the 9 positions. At one time or another, he played every position other than second base and catcher. He even pitched both ends of a doubleheader on several occasions.
Thorpe was not the only Native American athlete that Pop Warner brokered for profit. He was in the business.
Warner was smart enough to have a national recruiting network, so anytime in any reservation a good athlete popped up, Warner found out about it and they recruited him for Carlisle. So Carlisle was very good in pretty much every sport. There was always this fascination of going somewhere to see the Indians play.
There were quite a number of Indian schools in the West, and Pop Warner would take the best players from those teams, and if they played under their Indian name, he would bring them to Carlisle and have them play under their Anglo name. If they played under their Anglo name, he would have them play under their Indian name. Plus, he bet on the games.
Warner was using that team. He was making $100,000, $200,000 a year off of his athletes.
This was a team very separate from the school. These were players who were only in the most liberal sense students. The school had no facilities. What it was an independent team made up of American Indians who associated themselves with the school and toured the country and were incredibly successful.
Carlisle's athletic department came under question when the AAU, seeking to save face in the European track and field community, demanded an explanation for Thorpe's alleged professional status.
The school administration under Coach Pop Warner, they decided they wanted to get rid of this stigma, and they had Jim write a letter saying that I'm a poor, ignorant Indian. I didn't know this was wrong, and I confess. And they forced him to do that.
The Stockholm organizers got a letter with the results of that investigation. The Stockholm organizers were asked to rearrange, so to say, the results.
This was a time to kind of make a stand against the use of a lot of college boys, you know, in summer baseball. And so the AAU simply used Jim Thorpe. They were looking for a scapegoat, and boy, they found a good one.
They stripped Thorpe of his medals and trophies valued at $50,000. The irony of this divestiture was huge and sad, as Thorpe, not the AAU, not Carlisle, not Warner, was held up as an example.
I remember asking him the question, I mean, well, what did you think about, you know, those medals being taken away? And he said, Grace, he said, I never once wrote a letter, or I never once tried to get those medals back. And then he clammed up. He wouldn't say another word.
I would doubt if a white athlete would have been subjected to the same discipline. It's possible that it would have happened, but I think race played a factor.
It made it easier for those men to make that decision, anticipating that the hue and cry would likely be less for a man of another race.
It was only 20 years before that the last of the Indian Wars. And the Indian was still looked down upon.
I wonder if the moment he stepped down from the victory stand at the Olympics wasn't the high point of his life. I wonder, quite frankly, if Jim Thorpe would have been better off staying in Sweden.
I win.
The new 2004 Grand Prix. Fuel for the soul.
My wife bought the same one. Didn't fit. I love it, but the kids are allergic. Rashy.
How can I
Love it, but the kids are allergic. Rashy.
How can I help you?
I'd like to return this.
No problem.
Okay, the thing is,
Sir, we'll take it back.
so I don't need it.
Nope.
Make returns, not excuses. Because at Circuit City, we offer easy, no-hassle returns and exchanges. Circuit City, we're with you.
We're moving to Europe. Different plugs. You don't need it, but that's good.
A breakthrough offer from Midas, America's trusted leader. Right now, get lifetime 5 installation extra at Midas.
Come on!
All of our lives, we have fought this war. Tonight, I believe we can end it.
Touch me, and that hand will never touch anything again.
He's found a way to copy himself. Me too. How are you, fellas?
They need you.
I need you.
The Matrix Reloaded.
You can't beat us. Join us.
Rated R. Starts Thursday, May 15th.
Are you ready to save $200? Gateway announces $200 off our fully featured 300S home desktop, featuring an Intel 2.2 gigahertz processor, plus a CDRW DVD combo, a 17-inch monitor, and of course, shipping's always included. Are you ready? Call, click, or come in today for Ready Tech Go savings, only from Gateway, featuring the Intel Celeron processor.
Was he a basketball prodigy born to entertain?
Pete was in his own world.
Or a struggling soul searching for answers?
He lost his identity, and because of it, things start falling apart for him.
Pete Maravich, SportsCentury, 8:30 Thursday on ESPN Classic. 1956.
Don Larson's the first no-hitter and perfect game in World Series history.
Classic.
This was an athlete that America would have learned about solely through the newspapers. There was no broadcasting. Very few people ever saw Jim Thorpe perform. Jim Thorpe's reputation and stature as the greatest athlete of the first half century came as a result of his achievements.
I think it's remarkable that he became such a figure of prominence basically on his own ability, his own performance, and through word of mouth in this country.
Although Thorpe left Carlisle under a cloud of official disapproval in 1913, much of the public still regarded him through the glow of his mythical aura.
He was doing athletic feats that nobody previously had done in a number of different sports. I really believe that Jim Thorpe was a physical mutation.
Max Baer wanted him to be a boxer. He actually sparred with Max a few times, and Max said that he could have been a champion.
He even went to Boston one time and won a ballroom dancing contest. Jim Thorpe, ballroom dancer.
Someone that asked if he could do something, and he'd just get up and do it. He didn't ever feel that he had to train to become a good athlete. He was a natural athlete.
Accordingly, Thorpe spread his athletic wings in the professional arena. Already playing baseball for the New York Giants, Thorpe lent his fame and talent to a fledgling pro football team called the Canton Bulldogs in 1915.
It was a game that had probably hit its biggest bumps in the 19-teens. Pro football was gambling infested. They didn't tackle. Games were fixed, and ringers were brought in, and all kinds of charges were made against pro football.
Pro football was regarded, I think, by the press somewhere in the vicinity of pro wrestling as an exhibition, really.
Thorpe legitimized pro football. He was the first major successful hero who played under his own name. He paved the way for other great collegiate football players to start playing in the NFL and not feel like they had to hide from it.
The average crowd when Jim Thorpe was not playing in that era was 1,200. When Jim played, it was between 8,000 and 10,000.
From 1915, when he first signed with the Canton Bulldogs, through 1919, there was just nobody that could compare with him. There were guys that could kick as well, or run almost as fast, or with almost as much power, or play defense almost as well. But no one could do all those things so well as